What's up, guys? It's Troy Cartwright. Welcome back to another episode of 10-Year Town. Before we get started, I wanted to give you today's stat of the week, powered by Chartmetric. Today's number is 32,573,881,765, which is the total number of Spotify streams across our guests' top 100 songs. It's crazy, right? Chartmetric tracks data like this to help artists and their teams understand the reach and impact of their music. If you want to uncover insights like this for yourself, head to chartmetric.com. Now, back to the show. Today's guest is part 2 of our conversation with Craig Wiseman. In this episode, we discuss the story behind the founding of Big Loud. We get into the how and why, which was really inspirational because at the heart of it is a desire to be closer to the music. We also cover some of his favorite moments along the way and what keeps him going. I really enjoyed this conversation with Craig. I know you guys will too. So without further ado, here he is, part 2 of Craig Wiseman.
And also another great, this is what served me so well, like Tom Scott and all these guys and everything. But I did realize this, because I've been coming out of clubs, right? So I was playing drums. And you had to, if you wanted to eat, your band had to be popular. You had to play, you had to be the 5-piece jukebox, It wasn't a question of, there was no, this is my artistic, fuck that. No, it's like,
you give them the tempo.
Everybody wants to hear some Casey and the Sunshine Band from the country band. And so here we go, count it off. But I went and there's Tom Schuyler and all these guys, and they would do they would open with a ballad, and they would literally do 3 passes, 4 guys, everybody doing a damn ballad. Yeah. And the songwriter in me was going, well, this is a really great song. Man, these are great. Well, word crafting is very cool. But the live musician in me was like, you son of bitches would starve to death. Where is the sense of show? Come on, man. We got an opener room. Let's get in there. Yeah. And so I made up my mind. Best thing ever happened to me. It was I'm never going to do a songwriter show. I'm never going to do a ballad. I'm only going to write tempo.
Yeah.
Wow. And this was back when Forever and Ever Amen was speed metal around here. I mean, dude, it was everything was very, very, it was just,
yeah.
And here I was writing tempo. And what happened with that was I was having fun and writing tempo and stuff. So I started getting invited to stuff way out of my league. So Russell Smith and Dave Gibson and stuff would invite me to do their shows with them at the Bluebird. I mean, here are guys that have had number ones in Alabama and all kinds of shit, and Randy Travis and all that. I had a hold that lasted for 3 days, but I was playing tempo stuff, and the guys who knew the show knew let's get Craig in here because it makes it, the energy.
Yeah, he makes it fun.
The guys who came from bands knew the value of get a tempo guy in here.
Yeah,
it just makes the night better.
Yeah,
and it made me write tempo, and so I just wrote tempo. That's all I did was write tempo, and which is ironic because when I started breaking. Because my first number one was on Tracy Lawrence, "If the Good Die Young." So
yeah.
So if the good die young, if the good die young, so tempo, which Tracy cut because he needed a tempo song. Heard a song,
yeah.
And I was just the tempo dude, just indefinitely. That was all my shit. Kenny Chesney, she's got it. All my tempo. Yeah, here we go. That's what was so weird that I finally go along and I had this season where I wrote this little song called Live Like You Were Dying.
Yeah.
And kind of as a direct result of that, a year and a half later, I was with Ronnie Dunn. We were talking about that. And I got a call from a lady about Live Like You Were Dying. It was about faith. And I told this lady, the church lady called me up and had me crying because of that. And we wrote Believe. And all of a sudden, I was getting all these calls, like, Craig, I just want to write this deep song with you. Just that. It was the weirdest thing because I'd become known for just the tempo guy.
Yeah.
And had a couple of songs, and all of a sudden I was just this deep, feely guy. And I was just like, well, yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah, that's a long day, man. Even when you got a really good ballad and you're into it, that can be,
Yeah.
Oh, I also wrote the good stuff. Speaking of that, because I was there.
That was before Live Like You Were Dying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah.
Let's take a quick break here to tell you about our friends, the Graphic Guitar Guys. If you've ever thought about having a custom guitar, whether for merch, a giveaway, or a unique VIP package item, Graphic Guitar Guys makes it simple. They've worked with some of the biggest names in country music, handling everything from the guitar to full color graphics and shipping, and it's all for one easy price. They're also a great option for album pre-sale bundles or fan collectibles. I've worked with Scott and the rest of the team myself, and they really do make the whole process effortless. Check them out at thegraphicguitarguys.com. Now, back to the show. What is it like? You'd had success, and then, like, to me, when I was growing up, the good stuff's like, it's one of like the first country songs, and just because of the age I was, it was kind of just one of the first songs I was like actually aware of. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh no, no, yeah, I don't know.
What was it like? Was that surreal being a part of? Did that song feel a lot different than like other hits you'd had, just in terms of like seeing how it was impacting people, or am I just remembering that song as? No,
it really, in fact, had Live Like You Were Dying not come along so quickly and sort of, in fact, we were the number one party for Live Like You Were Dying. Kenny, Live Like You Were Dying, or number one party for the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny just kept talking about Live Like You Were Dying because it was just racing up the charts at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was just like, Kenny, dude. I was like, man, look, here we are. Because that was a really great. It was like a song of the year, single of the year, because I didn't win the award, but it was like single of the year. And yeah, it was a good, it was a very impactful song. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could tell just from me being a performing songwriter too. I mean, that's one of those ones where I start and there's a little smattering of applause.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, so
a whooping.
Yeah. A little bit like, he's playing it. So, yeah, that song though, wrote that with Jim Collins, and he came. It was a Friday, and he's from Texas. He's like, "Hey, Craig, Jim Collins, from Texas," and he was just like, "Man, I got this song, like the good stuff," and he was just talking about, and obvious, we're gonna be at the bar, we're gonna say the good stuff, but and then we're talking about a girl, talking about whiskey, talking about whatever, and all of a sudden I was just like, "Oh man, no, wait a minute," and the ballad, this thing, it really was very much a angelic experience, very spiritual thing.
Yeah.
And I tell people, it was one of those days, and I tell people, songwriter, you want to be so lost in something where like, so I went and got coffee and sat down, and we're sitting there messing with it and everything. And I reached down for my cup of coffee and take a sip, and it's ice cold. Wow. And you realize like, it's been 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it feels like it was
no time at all.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
And 3 hours had gone by, and you're just in this thing, just in that. The Irish call them thin places. Must be thin places where you can hear the angel wings just on the other side, and you're the closest to the other side or whatever. I think whenever you're writing, when you're really in that place, it's a thin place. Yeah. Because they say God exists in an absolute time where there's no time. That's why God can be there and angels can be there at the moment you're born and the moment you die simultaneously, because it's absolute. There is no time. And so therefore when you're writing and the coffee's cold, so it's been 3 hours and there is no time. Yeah. Time just acts way different when you're in this place. I always was sort of like, I feel like I think you're in a thin place. Whenever I'm in that creative, if I'm really, really in the zone, it feels a little bit like I think I walked with the angels a little bit today. It's just really great, man. It's an amazing. That's why you do it. You get up every friggin' day,
hoping for that,
hoping for a day or two of that a year, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, it's giving me goosebumps hearing you talk about it, and I mean, I know what I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, man. When you just get, and also,
special.
because songwriting is really, well, anything in this business, it'll just get you. I'm sure with your artist stuff and all that kind of stuff too, it makes you so the self-awareness is just friggin', toxic.
What do you mean by that?
Well, just that whole thing of how am I coming off, what's going on, and then if you have a record deal and everything, everybody's like, how there's all this good stuff and all this, just the whole introspection, and then everybody else is looking at you, and everybody's trying to overthink, and that's what I'm thinking. So the only way you can really walk with the angles and go to those thin places is you're selfless. There is no, there's not a moment of, oh, is that the wrong line? Oh, I shouldn't write that line. I shouldn't. What are people going to think when you're just vomiting out like, this has to be said and this is what I'm doing. And you're just lost in that.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing, where there's no, some good shit, man. And anybody in their life, you don't have to be a songwriter. If there's anything that gives you that, just you can know what the pure, and the pureness of that. Anybody should, if you have that, if that's possible.
Yeah.
I think, because at least they're just like, that's something to shoot for. I have used that as a template for, this is something to shoot for, man. This is because once again, if you're in a place where you're so self-aware and shit, how shitty that feels compared to this other thing. So if you have this, the pureness of that thing, you know how that feels, and you just know how that feels. And so when when you're way far the hell away from it, you're like, wait, something's fucked up, man. I've got to reel it back in here.
Yeah, it's almost because you. Particularly in the writer room, you know how good it can be. And on the days where you are very far from that place, especially you stack a few days like that in a row, it's depressing.
And you're going to have, but you hang in there too, because we've all been there too enough where you're slogging, but something happens, somebody hits a chord, somebody does something, and all of a sudden, there's a little fresh wind in the sails, and all of a sudden there's like, so it's
pretty magic.
Yeah, you sit down and you, I think, I think I see songwriting kind of a lot like fishing. Like you look, every day you have to go get the boat. You have to go put your shit in the boat. You have to go get your boat in the water, and you go through all that to see if they're biting or not. And you still have to do the same. You have to do your thing, and to see if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who are like, I'm just going to wait for it to feel like that. And it's just like, well, let me know how your next job works out for you. Because music is a strict mistress.
Oh.
She demands.
She demands a lot.
She demands full tilt. Full tilt. Give me your whole debit card, love.
Yeah, I think it can be hard I know sometimes even when I'm just at home and I kind of feel that pull, and I'm in my office and maybe I'm writing a song, maybe I'm just writing something down, and then you hear, we gotta go do this thing. I get so upset, and I think it's hard for people to understand that it's like, I'm not upset because I don't want to help you or I don't care about you. I just know how hard it is to get to this place that I'm in, and now that I'm here and we've popped the surface area on the bubble.
Yeah. It is, man. It's weird, man. It is. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, and other people don't understand. It took me a long time to realize that in several girlfriends and relationships to realize that. I mean, but here's the thing: we're the weirdos.
That's right.
So that for the longest time, I should just go, "What's wrong with all these people?" It's just like, I think me and my wife going to church, probably the best thing ever to go to church, because as my wife and I would call them just day shift people, and they're just they're people who are just, they're fine and they have like great jobs or whatever, but they do their job, and at 5 o'clock they go the hell home.
Yeah.
They do their hobbies, and they have fun or get in fights with their wife or whatever the hell they do, and they go play golf and play with their trains or do whatever, and then they go to work the next day, and then at 5 o'clock they stop thinking about work and go home. And I'm just like, what's up with that? But that's 95% of people.
Yeah.
And here we are obsessed with all this kind of shit with something that some line goes on in a movie in a theater. I mean, I have gotten the fuck up during movies at theaters. And I'm out in the friggin' lobby,
Yeah.
weaving, stacking up rhymes and shit. And, but once again, yeah, we're the weirdos. And because, and this is what, I think this is where girls got jealous and stuff, that you have a passion besides for someone in your life. And I think a lot of girls, and just a lot of people they don't understand that at all because they've never seen it.
Yeah.
The only thing they would just hate, if you're a football widow or a guy, all he wants to do is play golf, they just get mad at that.
Right.
But a true passion,
it consumes you.
Yeah. And I think I'll say your girl, but your lover, your other person pretty much wants that slot. That pretty much is what I get. And it's like, okay, good luck with that. So it's like,
yeah. Yeah.
That's probably one of the great things about being so friggin' blessed for me. I'm just like going like, yeah, well, it pays pretty good, so hang on. And we'll get you a car next week. So but no, I really have and one of the reasons why I got my wife, she was in advertising and she's a minister and everything, so she understood the whole idea of passion outside of your love and stuff, and being driven and artistically driven. That's one of the things that really, really attracted me to my wife. She totally got it.
Yeah, she understood.
Totally got it. Got it. And she was working in advertising, which, as you know, is just a friggin' whew.
Yeah, it's grind.
It's just a grind, dude. So, yeah, I mean, so she was, when we first got married, she was working hard because she was that young, talented lady at those places. So she was the one doing all the work and overseeing, making sure this thing got out in time, yada, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
we've talked a lot here kind of about songwriting and the magic of it. And how does that sort of square with like, you've had all of the success songwriting, and you've also had all of the success, I guess, in the music business, which started as a publishing company and has sort of evolved into this.
Yeah. I kind of realized, to keep from getting bored, so I kind of it kind of breaks down into almost this thing where I was pure songwriter for 10 years, starting off at Almo Irving at A&M Records branch here in town. Signed with them in 1990. Had first number one with them. Had 7 number ones. Whatever. By 2000, Herb and Jerry were selling the publishing. They'd already sold the record label. Had to get away from there. I sold my catalog and went to BMG at the time, because the guy that signed me, Chris Oglesby, was at BMG, so it felt good following him over there.
Yeah.
Got that check, and for the first time, because I'd been the young guy at Almo Irving, I've been the kid. I was the guy who was calling people up at midnight. Hey man, I got an idea for a bridge, and I'd be like, I was like, yeah man, hang on, I woke my wife up, and I was like, oh shit, sorry.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now, I was the dude. I was kind of the 7 number one guy. I get to BMG, and they had a bunch of kids. They had started this thing called 18-18-18. And so we'll sign you for 18 months. You got to turn in 18 songs, and we'll pay you $18,000.
Yeah.
Which they were trying to stretch their money up. They had a very limited budget. I thought it was pretty brilliant. That's how they found Luke Laird. That's how they found several people.
Wow.
So Luke Laird and there were about 6 or 7 of these kids going around. And they were just hanging out with me, just like, and all of a sudden I was the older statesman. I wasn't the kid anymore. They were the kids. And writing with them and everything. And And I loved that. And it was really that thing. I'll never forget. So Luke and I wrote a song called Miss Mexico. We still love it. Kenny immediately put it on hold. I was back with seriously. I was writing songs, and I would just go do a whole session, and like Tim McGraw would like, let me just put your session on hold until me and Byron have a chance to kind of weed it out. And then Kenny would be like, let me just put your session on hold.
Yeah.
So 5 songs, and then I'd go do another session like a month later, and they'd put that one on hold too, and like give me back 2 from the first, and stuff like that. It was pretty crazy days. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
So I wrote this song, and Kenny loved it. And so I'd gone for the summer. I'd gone out to the river house, my old river house. Midnight, the phone rings. I'm like, oh, my God, Mother. So I pick up the phone, and it's Luke Lair, which I guess he hasn't drank in years. But at the time, like, once again, he's 22-year-old kid. Dude, man, I love you, man. I love you. He's just shit-faced.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you really think Kenny's going to cut that song? I was like, you know what, Luke? I was like, here's what I know. I was like, I don't know if he's going to cut it or not. I was like, but I do know that he personally has it on hold. He doesn't put a bunch of songs on hold. You are on, right now, you and me are on a very, very short list of songs that Kenny Chesney loves right now and that are on hold. That's what I know. I was like, that is just a huge indication of, and I hung up the phone with him just going, man. And then, the idea of just getting a hold. And by then, once again, I had 7 or 8 number ones. And shoot, man, by then I was like, dude, if I don't have lead-off title cut, lead-off single, don't even talk to me, man. Because, I'm hot shit. And here's this kid, shit-faced, over a hold.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I remember that. I remember what that felt like. And I want to stay close to that. It keeps you grateful. I remember that. Just when the least little crumb would fall off that great big table in the sky, all the way down to you. And it was like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, I want to do that, man. I want to stay close to these kids and be reminded of that, how cool this town is. Because before any more cynicism creeps in. So I literally, within that year, I had sold my catalog for a few $1 million. I went and bought a house on 17th, and I did a 3-year deal with BMG, and like the day it was over, I opened up Big Loud Publishing.
Wow.
And so, so I did that, and I started signing kids and doing that thing. And that was in 2003. And so just this publishing thing. And by the time we get to 2010, 2011, this young kid, Seth, who is a self-appointed intern, he was pulling weeds and everything else and stuff. But he said, I booked bands in my college days and all that stuff. And I was like, well, man, and my thing was like, that whole thing, I was kind of getting over the whole, really just the whole record business in Nashville, the whole thing of how it worked. And it was just set for disrupting. It really was. I mean, I'd become a millionaire from it. Don't get me wrong. And I loved all the people in it, but still, it was, it was just, especially the old one. Dude, there were like 6 labels. Most of the labels were run by one producer who did all the cutting, be it a Jimmy Bowen, be it a Tony Brown, be it a whatever. Yeah. And they were great, but still, there were just these gates. There were just these very finite gates, and it went all the way down. Managers, there was these 5 or 6 managers, and basically, the table was rigged where if you came to town, a young artist, like they didn't have to work too hard or anything. And even with the major publishers, because, there's only 5 or 6 of us. It's kind of like there's only 5 or 6 people who got all the lottery tickets every month.
Yeah.
Like,
so somebody was going to win.
And I wouldn't care if you hit your lottery ticket this month and you hit yours next month. I'm going to get a lottery ticket here before the year's out. I mean, fuck, how could I not?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a lottery ticket. So we're all going to be fine. We're all going to get and then next year, same thing. Repeat. So that was kind of it. So there wasn't a whole lot of hustle, and there wasn't a whole lot of, there was no need to be innovative or anything. Everybody was happy with and meanwhile, I was just kind of like, man, I came from bars and stuff, and I was like, so I told Seth, I was like, so by the time we got to 2010, I had Rodney Clausen and Chris Tompkins and shit, man. I was just like these guys, and we were getting all the cuts. We were getting Jason Aldean and Luke Bryan and Blake Shelton, and but at the end of that, we still had hit songs left over, like a pile of really hit songs. Not like, oh, these are really good. Like these are singles. These are freaking shit, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, we should get a band, but as opposed to let's get a band, because up till then, Life in Music Row had just been that thing. Like you go up to these high fences and you throw a CD over a fence and be good to my children, please. And you didn't know, and like whether they would cut it or not, whether they would, deem it worthy and all this shit and then all their stuff. And then that was also back in the day when they would do an album, and the album would not be that great, but there would be like one or two like really, really good songs, and be like, okay, look, even if it wasn't my song, I'd say like, so you're going to single this song, right? Because there's one really, really runner on this album. Yeah. Go, no. We're going to do it this one first. You're going to get everybody ready, so then we can do this. I'm just like, so you're going to open with the mediocre, typical shit to get them ready to hear some good music. I was going like, I don't know about you, but I live in a constant state of always being ready to hear some good music. I'm like right now, even as we say this, dude, let me hear a new song right now that I love, and I'm just going to be all about it. It's just going to be fucking great. Like we'll just stop having this conversation, and I'll just stop and listen to this new freaking great song. I'm just that ready. I think most people are like that. Yeah. Like they're ready for great music that'll just put their dicks in the dirt like 24/7. They don't need to be warmed up. They don't need to be fluffed. They don't need warning or anything. Just give it to them. Just, that's crazy. But that kind of was the logic then. And it was just like this, I don't understand, and the dance with radio and all this kind of stuff, and the kiss and the rings and all this kind of stuff. And once again, I became a millionaire from it, but I was still just going like, God, man, they've just made this, it seems like so much harder than it has to be. Mm-hmm. So my thing was, well, instead of us trying to do this, instead of us just trying to go find rings we can kiss, why don't we just get some bands and and I was like, why don't we just get some vans and trailers in the parking lot and just go put these kids in clubs and just get some fan bases, because we're just starting to get the Apple download thing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the iTunes stuff. And
yeah, that was just starting.
Yeah.
And so I like, Seth, find us a band. So we actually were talking to Russell Dickerson, who'd just gotten out of Belmont, but all of a sudden there's all these other people, all these publishers, and there was all kind of people, bidding wars and all kind of stuff. I'm like, we ain't got money for that. So good luck, Russell. There you go. But Seth goes, well, man, the songs we really like of his, he wrote with these two other kids. I'm like, really? He was like, yeah, Tyler and Brian. It was like Florida Georgian line. Yeah. So I went to go see him at 12th and Porter. And I thought they were freaking great. And the first time I met them, it was unexpected, and they had paint on their shirt and stuff, and they were embarrassed. And I was just like, what? I was like, well, Seth said you were about to go out of town, and he wants us to meet. Like, we didn't have a chance to get dressed up or anything. And I was like, well, I don't give a shit about that. Like, why have you got paint on you? And they were like, well, like, we're playing for free. We're warming up for a friend of ours. We didn't have any money to press any of these CDs, so we went to a neighbor. So we paint his house if he'd pay us, so we could buy CDs to sell when we're doing this little mini tour with this guy. And I was like, and let me guess, you've never painted a house in your life? And they're like, no. And I told Seth, I was like, sign them. Yeah. Like, that's the hustle we're talking about right there. That's what we're talking about. Sleep is optional. The sleep is optional hustle. That's exactly. It's like, sign them now. I was like, tell them. I told them, I was like, drive out to their house and tell them that when they're going out this weekend, like, tell them that paperwork will be waiting for them when they get back. Sign them now. And yeah, man. So start off with FGL, and we were going to build a label around them that Cruise. I mean, I heard Cruise getting written through the freaking wall of my office. Yeah. That took off so fast that we couldn't, in good conscience, we couldn't hold them down to wait for us to get our shit together, because bringing out a label is complicated. So we shared that with Big Machine. Meanwhile, took all the money we were making off them and just invested it in the label. All of it, just invested it back in. Nobody was getting paid by the label. Nobody was getting, and And that happened, and right there toward the end, all of a sudden, this kid named Morgan Wallen was there, and his mullet shows up, and he had horrible songs and a great voice, and next thing you know,
it worked out.
It worked out. So
it's pretty special.
But I say all that to say, so I did like 10 years as a writer,
yeah,
and then about 10 years as a publisher. And that's just that you kind of get to the end of that with me anyway. You get to the end of it where it is a little. You're getting a little bit repeat steps 2 through 5. It's getting a little, so you go to the next room, where it's a little more exciting, and you up the game a little bit in the publishing, which is great. And then once again, all of a sudden we had these songs that were left over, and it was like, what are we going to do with these songs? I'm like, I don't want to just play the Kiss the Ring game with these. Let's just go create our own shit.
Yeah.
And so we did, and all of a sudden it's a label. And then then we still continue to, there is no, I kind of like that we came along right during all that stuff, here comes all the digital stuff and the streaming stuff, because we never look around and like, well, what's going on that we can imitate?
Yeah. You're innovating.
We're so far out there where it's just like, let's try this. Let's do this. Okay. Yeah. That's it's fun. It's fun, man. It is. It's friggin' fun.
Fun.
And it's there's definitely a strikeout rate ratio built into that shit. And whatever. Fine.
Pretty special.
It's fun, man. And and kids, you're watching Morgan. He drove to the office. He was sleeping on somebody's couch and drove a borrowed truck to the office. Piece of shit too. When we wrote "Chasing You,"
yeah,
and next thing you know, I'm going to go see him at Neyland Stadium, 74,000 people. And he's doing 3 nights or whatever the hell. Like, holy shit, this guy's going to play for 250,000 people before the weekend's over. He's going to sell $3 million in T-shirts. It's like, shit, man. Holy shit. Crazy.
Wow.
God bless him, though, man. It's just an amazing thing. Yeah.
Well, it's it lights me up to see you talk about it and just see how much it's meant to you the whole time, all of it. I can tell everything from writing the songs to making a label. It's all come from this place of this passion that you have, and you seem like you're having a lot of fun.
Well, and helping people reach their potential, man, is
it's exciting.
There's kind of nothing better.
Yeah.
It's sort of to help people reach their potential. It's just friggin' it really is this Field of Dreams stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. And you worry about other people, and without even thinking about it, turns out that you're more than provided for along the way.
Yeah.
If you don't, kind of the same thing of that whole thing of like, if you're doing your work without any self-consciousness, you're just doing your work.
Yeah.
And you're just pouring it out and trying to be in that place. And you look around and realize like, well, I guess I'm pretty provided for. I'm
You've done all right.
I have. I have. I've been crazy. The weird thing is, though, I don't have any kids or anything. So, that's what somebody said. All along people were like, okay, when you retire, what are you going to do? And everything. I was just like, man, I've never thought about, I never had thought about it. It's only recently, the last year since the open heart surgery.
Yeah.
That I started having to get spare parts. That first time I ever thought about like, maybe. And even then, it's not even retire. It's just kind of shift. I say I'm going to retire. I was up riding with Post Malone until 4 a.m. last night. I'm all about retiring. That son of a bitch. God, man. I love him. He's ate up with it, man. Talking about a guy who doesn't need it, and he's just friggin'.
Yeah,
he's the real deal, man. Post is the real friggin' deal. So,
wow.
Well,
Craig.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Are we done?
This is amazing. Yeah, we gotta. Yeah, they're gonna kick us out of here any minute. So
5 o'clock.
Yeah, 5 o'clock somewhere. But thank you. This is such an honor, and you've done a lot for a lot of people, and we appreciate you.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud. I was proud of. I'm proud of you. I'm glad to see you're doing this. I hope it's doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like anything else that's out there on the internet. It's hard to gauge it, and it seems to be doing very well. And so
Yes.
I'm very happy for you.
Well, thank you very much.
I've enjoyed some of your shows. I've looked them up. I'll go through. I pulled it up and looked at your guest star. Like, I'm going to listen to that one. I'm going to listen to that one. I'm going to listen to that one. I'm never going to listen to that one. I was like,
All right. Well, on that note, that's it. That's the pod. See you later.
all right, later, brother.
Love you too, man. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. If you want to submit a question for one of our Q&A episodes, you can do so at tenuretowne.com. We would love it if you would join the Tenure Town community, which just means we'll send you updates via email about stuff we got going on. And of course, please rate and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Wherever you listen or watch this thing, we appreciate you so much. See you next week.